Good morning. Good morning. Okay, there we are. My name is Ben Holquist, and I use he, him pronouns. I serve as a member of your Board of Trustees. And I'm happy to welcome you all on Zoom and in the sanctuary to the Tahoma Unitarian Universalist congregation. Unitarian Universalists are a community of people who hold many beliefs, many origins, identities, sexualities, and genders. We uphold and celebrate the inherent dignity of every person, which means you're welcome here just the way you are. Love is the power that holds us together as we gather in community to seek life's deeper meanings and to celebrate the diversity in all living things. We are all growing with and learning from one another. If you're here for the first time, we bid you a special welcome. After the service, I'll be in the sanctuary right over there by our sign-up table to answer any questions you may have about Unitarian Universalism or our congregation, or if you have questions about how to become involved in our community. Just ask. I also encourage you to explore our website, tahomauu.com. At that website, you can sign up for our weekly e-news that includes information about the important and fun events that are going on in our congregational life. A few announcements. We are looking for 2 people to get trained in to handle the soundboard. Teresa would love to talk to you more about that. But we're hoping to go up to 4 sound technicians so that everybody only has to do it once a month. Be a great improvement. They will train you on everything. You do not have to have ever played with a soundboard before, and I promise we're not the Rolling Stones. It's not complicated. We are also looking for a member for the nominating committee. We did not find one before the congregational meeting, so we will be appointing a 1-year temporary member of the nominating committee. If you'd like to try it out before agreeing to be elected next year, we would love to have somebody to come and join us on the nominating committee. So please reach out to me. I'll be over there, or any member of the board would be happy to talk to you. Our annual camping trip is coming up. Like many other announcements, it's on the back of your order of service. And if you are looking for, if you have a small family and need help with camping supplies, there are some camping supplies available. So if you'd like to go but don't have a tent for your family, please do reach out and we can see if we can help you. After the service today, there will be a conversation with Margo about being new to UU and new to TUUC. That'll be in the library. So it'll be in the library, which is the door just straight ahead after the service. It'll be at about 11:45. And then the flea market is looking for volunteers. Debbie or someone will be back in the back left corner at the big sign that says flea market. And then Patty, real quick.
Good morning, Patty McPhee. I am the gallery director, and I regret to tell you that the current show will be coming down this week. So if you have any interest in any of the artwork, please see me after service, because it will be coming down either today or tomorrow. The new show is coming in, and it's going to be very exciting. Those of you who know the art community here at all will recognize the name of Mary Schumacher, who is very well known, an award-winning artist in this area. If you have any more questions, please get a hold of me. If you have any artists that are in your family or community that may be interested, please have them get in touch with me. Thank you.
All right, you are also invited to join us for social hour right after the service, right over there by the windows. For those of you who are newer, we have red mugs that also hold more coffee. People, if you have a red mug, people will approach you and ask you questions and introduce themselves. If you choose a white mug, we'll only talk to you the normal amount. If you're someone who would benefit from a large print hymnal or a hearing assistance device, they are in the back of the sanctuary on the left side, my left side. We want to remind everyone that our services are available through Zoom and posted to YouTube, which means if you come up front, your image may appear on those venues. As we begin our service in this beautiful place called Tahoma by local indigenous tribes and nations, I acknowledge that we meet today on the land of the Coast Salish people, including the Puyallup Tribal Nation, land from which they were forcibly displaced. I honor the resiliency of indigenous people and stand with them as they continue to protect their culture, land, and water, and fight for visibility, sovereignty, and their very existence. Lastly, please set your electronic devices to worship mode. Let us exhale deeply and settle ourselves into this holy moment of sharing and receiving. And now let us join together in worship.
Thank you, Marianne. That was beautiful. Marianne, how many years have you been playing for us? I would like to know that. How many years have you been playing for us? I would like to know that. A while. She's been playing for a while. A substitute in the mid-90s and then took over. So I am the Reverend Margo Rinehart. I'm the minister here at Tahoma Unitarian Universalist Congregation, and I use she, her pronouns. So whoever you are, wherever you're from, and whomever you love, welcome here and welcome home. We also welcome child voices doing what doing what children do. I often think, you know, it's like when kids are unhappy, they are just vocalizing what we all feel sometimes. We're all cranky, we're all unhappy sometimes, and they just let it rip. Where we just, the rest of us sometimes try to hide it, and maybe it's better to share when we're not doing well. I want to bring the microphone out just to see if there's anybody newer who wants to introduce themselves. This is an invitation. Don't feel any pressure to do this. We just want to have it available. Anybody newer who just wants to say your name and where you're from?
Hello, my name is Jordan. I think this is my third or fourth visit here, but I'm kind of shy. Even doing this makes me nervous. Really come in at the last minute and leave as fast as possible at the end. But I just recently moved to Tacoma about 6 weeks ago. I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. area, and I really like it here so far. So thank you for having me.
Welcome, Jordan. And I think a lot of visitors do that the first few times. They show up at the last minute and scoot out. And that's okay.
Hi, my name is Christine Sanford. I'm one of the safe parking members. And I wanted to thank this wonderful church for being here for me and my brother.
Thank you. Welcome, Christine. I gotta go around. Zoomies, I've got to go around. Sorry.
I'm Shelby. This is my second visit, and I live here in Tacoma.
Welcome. Anybody else that I'm missing?
Hi, welcome. I'm Mavis and my husband David. We just moved from Whidbey Island down here to Tacoma, and we were members of the Whidbey Island UU congregation for 26 years. Going to miss them, but we're looking forward to meeting many of you.
And Dave and I used to serve on the Cascadia board together. So I know Dave a little bit, but I just met Mavis this morning. All right. Well, thank you, all of you who felt brave enough to do that. And no pressure, but maybe other people will in the future. So I was going to open with a reading, but I think I have something else I'd rather say. I spent yesterday, Sean Pruitt and I spent yesterday at the outside the Immigration Detention Center because there was a day of solidarity. So it was Quakers and Unitarian Universalists from around the state of Washington and a group from Eugene, Oregon. And La Resistencia, which is in Pierce County, the resistance group, puts these solidarity days on at least once a month, and sometimes it's more than once a month. And so in that process, we heard some success stories, we heard some hard stories, there was a great deal of singing. And one of the things that this always gets closed with is that you take flowers and you put them down the chain link fence, and detainees inside can see us out there. They can, even if they can't see us, they can hear us. And then later they can see all these flowers on the fence. And you would not have known this, but part of the reason this was such a meaningful day is because there is someone in our congregation right now who is fighting to have her husband be able to stay in the United States. They have notice of deportation hearings. It's at a critical time. And I have because we're on Zoom and because we're posted to YouTube, I'm not really willing to say her name out loud, but I'm posting it on this piece of paper. And I'm wondering if we might write some words of encouragement to her and her husband. So her name is on here, and some of you will recognize it. She's fairly new to the congregation. So I will put this, I'll put this up here on the altar. There's pens in one of those baskets. And while I'm here at the altar, I want to again remind you, there are hearts in this basket over here. Sorry. So if you have a joy or a concern in your life and you want to write it on a heart and you want your community to see it, you can post it, grab it there, and you can post it over on that brown paper. And by the fall, we're going to start reading these hearts aloud. So I will put the one for the family facing, the husband facing deportation, and the wife being someone we know because she has been here multiple times. So again, that was very much on my heart as I was at this solidarity gathering yesterday. I was also the speaker for Justice Washington, which is our Unitarian Universalist social action network. So I represented not only Tahoma, but all the UU congregations involved in Justice Washington. And it was an honor to do that for you. All right. Okay, I'll quickly read the opening words. This is our topic today is possibility. So this is Entranced with Possibility by Tess Bomberger. We gather as a community of spiritual seekers, always ready to awaken each other's curiosity. In this beautiful, challenging, and complex world, may we enter our worship today with open minds, warm hearts, and spirits entranced with possibility of healing, of hope, of transformation, and of justice. Let us worship together.
Good morning. My name is Chris Homiak. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm your celebrant today. I was just sharing before the service how this summer I think I've been camping more than any summer in my life. So I'm thrilled to be here. My family's fairly new here, and this is such a beautiful place to gather. And I share sometimes with people that I haven't seen in a while. I say, like, not only is there not in the tradition I grew up in, attendance was a huge commitment, even though it wasn't a tradition where I was afraid of going to hell, but especially here, it's like outside is such a beautiful place to be. I'm always thrilled to connect with people when I'm here. So I'm going to call up Sylvester to light the chalice. He's somebody that started coming around the same time as my family did, and I always enjoy connecting with him. He commutes here from Ording. And if you'll join me in the chalice lighting words that'll appear on the screen. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come. Now, if you'll join me in the opening hymn, it's number 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. Please rise in body or spirit as you're able. Thanks.
Good morning. So many of you are probably sitting next to food products, maybe a can. It might be toothpaste, it might be shampoo. If you are, can you hold it up so that our young children can help gather it up for collection? This is something we do every week, and it's how we keep our kids involved in social justice. This goes to the local food bank and helps those who need it. And as you can see, the kids really enjoy doing it. All right. Is that the last bit of it? Yeah, I think so. I think that's everything this time. All right. Well, then I have a story to read. Let's try not and trip over each other, okay? There's plenty of room. Okay. Today I'm reading a true story about Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver holding on to wonder. Because Mary Oliver hoped that there was someone just like you on the other side of her words, holding on to wonder just like Mary. The end. Okay, now it's time to sing the kids out. Yay!
We hold you in our love as you go, as you grow. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go.
I'm Charlie Kuparic. Today I'm using he, him pronouns, and I'm your chat chaplain this morning. The first time I came to Tahoma UU, I knew I was home. I had never been to a UU service previously, but my beliefs have always been aligned with the Unitarian Universalist principles. To help keep these principles alive, I donate what I can, and I help out around here when I have time. You can all help out by using the donate button on our webpage or by adding to the baskets our ushers will pass around the sanctuary. There are also baskets up front and online options if you care to support our safe parking and trans relocation projects. Thank you all for your continued support.
Please join me in the words of dedication on the screen. We dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls. And now for our meditation hymn, number 298, Wake Now My Senses, in your gray hymnal. If you could stand in body or spirit as you are able.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being whole. Deep with the wave of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, give out to the new. Join with each pilgrim you quest for the true. Oh, the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with the people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work towards a planet transformed by our care.
So our reading is Not a Problem to Solve by Michelle Collins. We come carrying questions we barely know how to ask. In a world that rewards quick answers and sharp certainty, something in us is still hungry for the questions that leave us hanging and unknowing. Stir in us living curiosity. When we meet what is unfamiliar, turn our fear into wondering. When we feel the pull to shut down, grant us one more honest question. We may notice anew what we have walked past 100 times. May we listen for stories we've never heard before. May we meet this day not as a problem to solve, but as a mystery to explore. And may this help us better know the mystery that is in us. So the title of the sermon is actually Curiosity, Keep Chasing the Questions. And that comes from Rilke's talking about stop trying to find the answers, but live into the questions for a while. And then the answers will suddenly start to percolate up. I am now going to quote someone from history. I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious. These are the words of Albert Einstein. He is also the author of the phrase, "holy curiosity." And I want to read from a journal entry from another great genius, Leonardo da Vinci. "I roam the countryside searching for answers to things I do not understand. Why shells exist on the tops of mountains, along with imprints of coral and plants, and seaweed, usually all found at the sea. Why the thunder lasts a long time and that which causes it, and why immediately on its creation, the lightning becomes visible to the eye while the thunder requires time to travel, and how various circles of water form around a spot that has been struck by a stone. Why a bird sustains itself in the air. These questions and these other strange phenomena engage my thoughts throughout my life." So this morning, we're just going to explore how curiosity benefits us, both in our personal moments, but primarily in how we interact with others, how we can use humility and curiosity to connect us to others, and also let that curiosity create bridges in our conversations about hard things. I'm really aware that the vast majority of us have our eyes on the midterm elections. We will be phone banking, we will be letter writing, we will be engaging in doorbelling, and it's worth thinking about how to hold our curiosity so we make those conversations more productive and more respectful. So before I move into the story part of the sermon, let's consider some words about curiosity from Krista Tippett from National Public Radio, who points out how a question is asked. How a question is asked sets a tone for the entire conversation. And this is for any conversation. This isn't about politics. This could be about in your office. This could be in your family. She says, "I find a question to be a mighty form of words and have learned a few things about questions. I've learned that questions elicit answers in their likeness. The answers rise or fall to the questions they meet. We've all seen this. We've all experienced it. It's very hard to respond to a combative question with anything but a combative answer. It's almost impossible to transcend a simplistic question with anything but a simplistic answer." I disagree with her slightly on that. I think there are ways. But the opposite is also true, she says. It is hard to resist a generous question. Any of you who've been attending for a year or more, I've been the minister here for over a year and a half, but you have heard me musing about how I talk to my neighbors. Think of 3 cul-de-sacs. It's like a 3-leaf clover. And because we all walk in the neighborhood, we know each other by name. We know where people live. I've lived in this neighborhood for a long time. I know that we like to help each other, that we delight in seeing each other when we're out walking. The relationships are mostly very casual, but they're important to us. We care about each other's welfare, and that helps us all feel more safe, more relaxed, and it brings a quicker awareness about when someone in our 3 neighborhoods needs some help. So you may remember I told part of this story over a year ago when DOGE came and effectively cut the budgets of most local food banks by 40%. They did this by cutting off grants between farmers and food banks. So I felt the need to talk to people in my neighborhood about making a financial or a food donation to our local food bank at that time around the DOGE cuts. So away I went. So as I was out walking and greeted neighbors, I talked to them about this. But what do you think was the question I first asked? I said, are you aware that local food banks have experienced a 40% decrease in federal aid over the past few months? Not good. And a few times I made the mistake of saying 40% decrease in federal aid over the past few months due to DOGE cuts. Okay, so the minute I stuck DOGE on the end of that sentence, it became contentious. It was such a mistake to get it caught up in politics when the issue at hand for me really was, how do we get more food to those food banks? So I dropped the DOGE, and then I just said, who have experienced a 20% decrease in federal aid. So there's a difference. Are you aware our local food banks have experienced a 20% decrease in funding? Or when I add on funding due to federal aid cuts or funding due to DOGE cuts. So I went with the first one, just there's been cuts. And would they donate either non-perishables or donate on the food bank's website? Now, here's where things occasionally would go astray. When I would try to save the conversation, people didn't believe what I was saying, but I would explain I worked in a church and I know that how much greater the asks are right now. I remember this a year ago because people were coming to our door here. And because I work in the building and Shauna and I work in the building, we are the ones that talk to these people. So then I also asked my neighbors to make their donation. And if they were still really doubtful that there was suffering as a result of these cuts, I said, food bank's kind of on our way to the grocery store. Why don't you drive by and take a look at who is waiting in line? Just see who these people are. I know who they were because I've taken food donations there and I drove by there all the time. I know that they would just see people, but people who also may have had some difficult circumstances and that finances were very tight then. So what went on in some of these conversations was bleeding heart liberal, hard-hearted conservative. So it turned the conversation into a debate, which wasn't helpful. So I kept exploring how to get people to become curious. Could only happen if I wasn't stoking on my judgment. But it's a human thing to judge others, but we need to know when we're doing it. And hopefully that occurs before we open our mouths. Haha. And when you notice the judgment, can you turn it into curiosity? Can you turn it into a question? What would it take to soften their hearts a little bit to the plight of others in our community? So listening to our own internal judgments about how others are helps keep us curious, and it helps keep us honest. Catching ourselves in that judgment allows us a moment to just step back, rein it in for the moment. And again, hopefully this happens before we speak, and perhaps come up with a more helpful question or response. I don't know if any of my neighbors donated food or money at that time. I don't know if anybody went to the food bank, but I hoped I had planted some seeds. And months later, when the SNAP grants were cut off, I went around again and I put posters by the mailboxes. And I was actually met by some people with a softer response. Maybe I'd created some of Einstein's holy curiosity, and their hearts had responded with care. They had checked out the problem a little bit. They had made donations. And I don't want to be arrogant here, because sometimes it's us who needs to change our mind and our heart. There's a commentary from the Wisdom School that I particularly liked. It says, changing your mind is one of the hardest things a human can do. It isn't hard because new evidence is rare or because learning is unpleasant. It's hard because beliefs just don't live in the intellect. They live in our identity, in our community, in our memories, and in our pride. The quiet courage of changing your mind lies in its humility. So it requires acknowledging that you understand, that your understanding of the whole thing was only partial, that your perspective is limited, and that the world is always more complex than the stories we tell ourselves. So when we can keep that in mind, we have a better chance of changing our minds and our judgment, and to see situations as a chance to grow, to seek understanding in our own heart over being understood. In my neighbor example, I started asking myself, well, what if I looked at my neighbors a little more deeply? Some of them worked really hard to get where they were now. Some of them are living on a limited budget. The best way to have them listen to me is for me to first listen to their story, for our conversation to be relational, not rational. What are their fears and frustrations right now? Because there's so much certainty out there, they all have fears and frustrations. The poet David Whyte tells us that there is no self that can survive a real conversation of this type. He says, after a while, you realize you don't want to actually keep that old static identity of yours. Rather, you start pivoting from what you were in the meeting into a future possibility. So what he's saying is that this takes a self-forgetfulness of what we're clinging to and a curiosity of what can come through the encounter, an allowing of how your worldview can be expanded. For the 2 years I was living in Montana, I did a lot of doorbelling for one of the mayoral candidates who really was a long shot for mayor. And as I went from door to door and I asked people, what were their concerns right now? What were their fears about Bozeman? And that led to some lengthy conversations sometimes. And I could really hear what was on people's hearts, which was, we're in deep trouble here. We're in financial stress and strain. People can't afford to buy homes. People can't afford to rent homes. And that the current people in the power structures were not working hard enough or fast enough at solving the problems. And so the extremely unlikely mayoral candidate was elected. And he was elected through a lot of lower income people doing the doorbelling on his behalf. So on the other side, in times of really difficult vulnerability, climate change and other threats, it is the human coping mechanism to want to control and have certainty. We cling to our truths and often use them as weapons toward those we disagree with. We become focused on our own survival, which too easily translates, too easily, into dominance and supremacy. I know that many of us have asked the question of why do people vote and put people in office that don't mind their best interest? And there is good social science literature that people who are feeling very vulnerable will grab at what looks certain, what looks strong. And so they will gravitate there, hoping they will be pulled along with that strength. But then the question really becomes, does that person truly care about their welfare? So I don't know if any of you remember, I put a piece in the e-news, this is several months back at this point. It was a reflection on the type of environment that has been created in the US for someone to try to shoot Republican leaders at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. So that must have been what, March maybe? That this didn't happen in a vacuum. that we live in a culture where anger is fueled and used as proof of how righteous the injury is, that leadership plays a central role, that when a leader freely uses dehumanizing language, when leaders ridicule opponents, and they frame conflict as needing to end in domination, this rhetoric begins to mold the emotional life of a whole nation. And it doesn't stay at the of that level of rhetoric. It allows violence to become an acceptable response to anger. So it is our job as Unitarian Universalists, it's our job in our faith tradition that talks about the inherent worth of every person, and that it talks about generosity and justice. We need to fight against this tendency to dehumanize or to polarize, and instead get curious and ask questions and listen deeply. We need to model for others the sincere curiosity and careful framing of questions. I can give you another example that happened yesterday. As we watched, there were 3 ICE officers watch. So there's those gathering in solidarity. There's a chain link fence. There's the detention center, and they're walking between the detention center and the chain link fence. Multiple people turned to look at them. I glanced at them and I immediately turned back. And then a discussion started happening about how to interact or not interact with those employed at the ICE detention center. And the answer that came back quite firmly, very firmly, from the immigrant community was, don't you ever be sneering, don't you be calling out to them, don't you be communicating any hostility, because the frustration that any of those ICE officers pick up will then be taken out on the people inside. And that was a perspective that some people had not considered. So by having that discussion and about generating our curiosity, what does it mean when we are angry back? We realize the incredible risk we were placing people at. So use those get curious questions, or as our peace prayer puts it, not so much to see, to be understood, but to understand. To even the most unlikely of circumstances, maybe try to be more lighthearted. It's where we risk and grow the most. Lighthearted, no, tenderhearted is what I mean. Otherwise, those rigid and exclusive answers and jealous truths will build walls between us. So use your questioning, use your humility, and it will change you, and it will change your communities, and it will change our hearts. All right. Amen and blessed be. We will now join in our closing hymn.
Please stand in body or spirit, break not the circle, 323 in the gray hymnal. Of the circle of heavenly home, where people grow forgiven and forgiving, break not the circle, make it wider still, till it includes and embraces all the living. Come wonder at this love that comes to life, where words of freedom
If you'll join me on closing words first.
We do this a lot. Does the benediction come, does the closing words come before the chalice? This is called the questions that follow us home. These are the questions that follow us home, the ones that refuse to settle, that sit beside us at night. And not every riddle is meant to be solved. Let light keep open a space where not knowing is allowed to breathe.
Now the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now, if you'll stand and join us in the closing blessing song, sing to one another.
Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.